Everybody's got pie. Two weird movies and nobody knows what the other one's brought to this midnight show. It's Patty Cake's Pajama Party Picture Show. In jammies and blankets, we're ready to go to mystery movies, the good and the bad. We laugh till we cry, or just cry 'cause it's bad. Or just cry 'cause it's bad.
Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, please come in, make yourself at home. My name is Patty Cake. Welcome to Patty Cake Games and another episode of Patty Cake's Pajama Party Picture Show. Now, for this episode, we have decided to do something slightly different. There's lots of movies that he has in his lexicon that I've never seen. And there's lots of movies I have in my lexicon that he's never seen. So we decided that we were going to make a subset version of this show where one of us brings a film that the other person has never seen, that we love, that kind of fits into the idea of what the show is about. You know, this sort of a B movie.
But they might be a little higher quality.
Yeah, and like this one.
We've watched it already, because so far the movies we've brought have been things that neither of us have seen.
Well, no, not entirely true. Not entirely true. I did see. I had seen Spookies, the very first episode. I'd seen that one before, but it had been a long time since I'd seen it. But yes, no, you are correct. It's stuff that we've never seen before is usually what we're bringing forth. But this one,
frequently things we never even heard of.
Yeah, that's happened too. But I want. There's lots of stuff that's in my wheelhouse, stuff that I've seen that I would like to talk about on this show, and this is one of them. So in this, we're calling it "You've Got to See This." And so this is our first version of Patty Cake's Pajama Party Picture Show. You've got to see this. And I brought one of my favorite films to Brent because I knew that Brent really needed to see this. I'm turning that off. That big picture of Ron Jeremy was that's like a jump scare. Sorry, my TV was cycling still images in front of us, and one of them was Ron Jeremy. We're just like, oh,
looking
God.
kind of old and decrepit,
right?
too. Not like young and...
Anyway, so I brought a film that's one of my favorites, my favorite horror movies, and it's based on works from my favorite author. And I brought it here, and we watched it, and it was Re-Animator. And I had a little bit to say about a little bit of the history of the film and kind of like why I think it's great. And that's from my reaction. I'll just cut it in right here so you guys can watch that. This film was put out by Empire Films, and it was directed by Stuart Gordon, who went on to direct a slew of films that were set within, I guess there were some that were set within the same universe because this spawned some sequels. But they are all films based on the writing of H.P. Lovecraft. So you know how much I love H.P. Lovecraft. You even gave me that beautiful book that I pull down and read every now and then that has the complete works. So, of course, I'm going to be enamored with a film that's done one of his works. So this is based on the short story, Herbert West Re-Animator. And one thing that's really interesting about H.P. Lovecraft's writing, which I'm not sure if you're aware, I don't know how much of him you've actually read, H.P. Lovecraft never wrote a third act. He would start the story, he would have the big shocking reveal, which is usually the end of the second act of a story, but there was never a resolution. And I'm sure he wrote that way on purpose so that the people reading it would be able to draw their own interpretations of what happened. And that actually works in short horror because it makes you go to places that your brain wouldn't normally go, and you kind of scare yourself with how dark your thoughts can be. You know? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, not having a third act doesn't work in film. So all of the films that Stuart Gordon made are pretty faithful to the H.P. Lovecraft writing, and then he writes a third act that is batshit crazy. And they're great. This also is the film that introduced me to Jeffrey Combs, who went on to play the main character along with Barbara Crampton, who was also in this. as the male and female leads in pretty much all of Stuart Gordon's H.P. Lovecraft films. And this is the first one in the genre. But mostly, this was all about Brent seeing this film for the first time, because I'd seen it countless times before.
Not only have I not seen it, I've heard of it. I mean, I know that title existed. I did not know it was Lovecraftian. I also had never ever seen clips of it, because until this past year, I had never seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, which I took care of last fall.
Very happy that you finally watched that.
But I had seen clips of some of the films here and there. I remember one time I was somewhere and there was the school bus scene that's in one of the movies, and things like that. But I never actually watched more than 5 minutes, and never actually specifically watched it. It just happened to be on that one time. So this one was one of those in that same genre, which I knew existed, but didn't really know much about it. I mean, I knew a lot more about Nightmare on Elm Street, some creepy dude.
It's very hard to not know stuff
Freddy
about
Krueger
Nightmare on Elm
is and what he
Street,
does,
right? It's
but I've
just
never seen
it's
it.
part of the American lexicon of folklore at this point.
But this one is definitely more under the radar because of what we watched in this series. I expected, especially since Patrick brings these slipshod things that are oh my gosh, how did you even get this on film? And this though wildly over the top and definitely had some questionable effects, which were probably amazing 40 years ago.
No, they weren't. They were still bad then, but they were charming. That's there's something about it that's just very charming.
But oh gosh, it definitely went off the rails fairly quickly, and he had already given me the warning, which I saw, about how Lovecraft stops his books or things before the third act.
Interesting.
And at one point I asked him, so are we in the second act yet? And he's like, no, we're already into the third act.
Yeah, we're past the short story. The short story's done.
The end of it. So, but before we get there, you definitely gave us some decently stereotypical characters. The wholesome boy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I didn't mean to scare you.
No, it wasn't too bad, Dean Halsey. I just didn't know anybody was here.
Yeah.
Who gets corrupted.
He gets corrupted, yes. And the girl.
The day that you graduate, the minute you get your MD, I'll marry you.
She was just a normal girl next door.
Appropriately suspicious of all the right
yes,
people.
she was
for
very
all the right
smart.
reasons.
She was smart.
And still nobody would listen to her. She was kind of a Cassandra almost.
Yes, oh my God. Nice throwback to a previous episode.
I felt so bad for her because she's like, okay, come on, everybody, let's not be weird.
Nobody listened.
Then you've got the young megalomaniac.
You killed him. No, I did not. I gave him life.
Who is convinced he's the best, and he meets a mentor. Well, we can kind of skip over the opening where the dude dies, because that's just
that just sets it up.
Sets the stage, and now he's over in America.
Herbert West Re-Animator is actually one of the stories of H.P. Lovecraft that's not super paranormal. It's actually based in science gone too far.
Yeah.
Which is another common trope of H.P. Lovecraft.
I mean, it's definitely an extension of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yes.
But they took it to a more a less gothic place,
less romantic.
Yeah.
It's far less romantic. It's much more blunt, much more brutal.
But this one, he meets this pathologist who's a teacher.
And your support of the 12-minute limit on the life of the brainstem after death.
6 to 12 minutes, Mr.
Right off the bat, your nice little mad scientist in training decides to insult his new professor
by snapping its pencils.
Brain death brings about an irreversible conclusion. It takes something else. Perhaps it takes desire, an obsessive desire. Perhaps it takes... Mr. West, I suggest you get yourself a pen.
I suggest you get yourself a dentist. Before even that, he's all like, your theories of brain death are outdated,
Right.
And they're not. He just has secret knowledge, I guess. He's created this thing that can extend that, but without that, it's still pretty much.
It's still pretty standard. It's still pretty standard. 6 to 12 minutes before brain death. You know,
all of these things that he brought back to life that had been dead much longer. You saw their reactions. Like, it seemed obvious that the sooner you did it, the more sentient they were.
Yeah, the more they retained their faculties they had when they were alive.
Yeah.
You know, the sooner you could reanimate them. And all of his experiments up to that point had been on things that had been dead for too long, except for Gruber.
Dr. Gruber! Dr. Gruber, wie geht's dir?
Dr. Gruber!
Yeah, the doctor.
The doctor at the beginning. And now we don't really
that was
know.
just too much.
We don't really know what happened. Whether Gruber just died of natural causes and he tried to save him, or if something happened and I don't know. We don't really know.
Yeah, that was kind of vague.
Because that brings into question: did he actually kill the cat, or did he actually honestly find the cat? Suffocated and put it in the fridge because he didn't want it to stink up the house.
Yeah,
and he would
but
tell them later.
I'm sorry, if I was in a roommate situation and my roommate or me as the roommate found a dead pet, you would let them know immediately.
I would call them immediately.
You're like, you need to sit down.
Yes.
What are you doing in my room? How dare you come in my room?
Dad!
What's the matter? I thought I was renting a private room, Dan.
I mean, I just tell you something that's really bad. If you'd like me to keep it for you, I can put it in a bag and put it in the freezer or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, you're not going to secretly hide someone's dead cat in the refrigerator and then, I was going to tell you. Because you know what you were going to do? You were going to try to reanimate the cat and pass it off that it wasn't dead.
Yes, or just keep it as a test subject, not necessarily to reanimate it for the purposes of reincorporating into the household.
Yeah.
You couldn't call or write a note.
I was busy pushing bodies around, as you well know. And what would a note say, Dan? Cat dead, details later?
Obviously, fresh corpses are
They're better, absolutely.
But you're gonna farm them. I mean, you're gonna probably go to the morgue and get it, which you have access to,
Right.
or find a stray animal or something. But you're not gonna dispatch your roommate's animal.
Well, okay, we also have to take this into context that this was in the 80s.
Yeah.
People didn't have cell phones. Yeah. When people were working a shift where they were pushing bodies around the morgue, they didn't really have access to communication until they were off work. So, I mean, we have to take that into consideration as well. It's not like today where if I came home and if I was house sitting for you or something and one of your cats was hurt or something, I could instantly text you and you would get it immediately. Yeah. It wasn't like that in the 80s. So we have to take that into consideration as well.
Everybody had a telephone too.
Yes, everyone had a telephone, and there are telephones at the hospital. You could have called the front desk and left a note, So, I mean, it does bring it into suspect.
His intentions.
What his intentions were and whether he was actually at fault. But then, of course, we get towards the end and we see what he's capable of. We're like, oh, yeah, he absolutely killed that cat. Come on.
Once again, we have our earnest, sweet boy doctor who just fell in with the wrong crowd. And he goes and earnestly tries to convince, the dean to give him lab space to continue his experiments.
Yes, because he saw a cat come back from the dead.
Serves you right.
It's just that effect is so simple. It's just a thing attached to his back, and he's pretending it's attacking him.
What the hell is it? Later! Later!
Apparently it still doesn't like him, even in
death. Or re-life. What would this be? Is this technically undeath or is it re-life? That's actually a good distinction to make. And of course the dean's just like, okay, you're going to submit an apology to me tomorrow and Herbert West is out.
I do feel like his reaction was over the top. And
a little bit.
Like, he would have been like, okay, this is a little weird. I probably need to talk to you fellas.
I think that was compounded by the fact that his daughter was involved.
Yeah, that would give you that emotional reaction, and that probably was their argument.
I know he's unstable, but I've seen the results, and so is your daughter.
What have you been doing with my daughter?
We have already established, although not blatantly, but we've vaguely established that Dr. Hill, the the pathologist, that his teacher is interested in the dean's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
To me, my esteemed colleagues, capable, beautiful, loving daughter. The obsession of all who fall under her spell.
His wife was with him, right?
No, it was just him. He was single.
Oh,
there were no wives. Remember, this is very, very small cast. That's one of the things that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Stuart Gordon wrote this originally, or I don't know if he wrote it, but Stuart Gordon originally conceived this as a stage play. And I remember I mentioned when we were watching it, like, it's a very small cast, and there's very few locations. It's just like 3 or 4 different locations.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to do as a stage show with a very small cast. And I've actually seen, there's actually clips on YouTube of stage productions of Re-Animator using this same script.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. This felt lecherous.
Yeah, it was lecherous. It was creepy. It was unwelcome by far.
Yes,
on her
absolutely
side.
unwelcome. She wasn't interested in that at all.
Yeah.
As evidenced much later in the film.
Yeah, continue.
Oh yeah, at that point the story is done. The original story is done, and that's like 30 minutes into
And they
the
go
film.
off the rails quick. It's like, okay, I believe in your thing. I'm mad at you for killing my cat, but I believe in your theory, so let's go to the morgue together.
And experiment on corpses. They bring back the linebacker guy. They guess they just look for the largest corpse they could possibly find.
They were trying to find the one
They find
who
that
was
was
healthy.
the
some
healthiest.
of them had some body damage.
Yes. And so this one they chose because it was most likely the worst problem they would probably encounter would be heart damage, because he died of heart failure.
But the worst problem that they encountered was it's super strong.
Yes. Unexpectedly strong, to the point that it knocked the door to the cooler off the hinges and killed her father. Almost killed her father in the process. And then he finished the job.
It broke his
later.
nose. There was a crunching sound.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he finished the job afterwards by slamming him against the wall a few times.
What did that poor guy do to anybody?
Well, I mean,
he was not even involved.
I think it's just. I think they were just showing the idea that, like, the longer you're dead, when you come back, the more violent
you want
and
other people to be
uncontrollable
dead
you
with
are.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Misery loves company, right? That's the first moment that it goes completely off the rails, because you understand them going in and wanting to experiment on a fresh corpse from the morgue. That makes sense. That's like human trials, you know. How much dosage is needed?
Now, he interrupted an important experiment in progress. But granted, it was an accident. But this is the freshest body that we could come across, save of killing one ourselves. And every moment that we spent talking about it cost us results. Now, will you give me a hand? Dan, we can bring him back to life.
And his first thought is, this is the freshest corpse we've ever had, aside from killing one ourselves.
I feel like they both had different motives, though. He understood he could talk.
Yeah, he actually said arrest them.
He
suggested arresting them, and then he didn't want his daughter to see him, so he was hiding when his daughter tried to look at him, so he was aware of the fact that he was disfigured and frightening looking.
Dean Halsey? Dean Halsey? I'm calling the police.
Which then were completely destroyed by Dr. Hill by lobotomizing him.
Yeah, so Dr. Hill figured out what's up.
I want to know why Halsey's heart fibrillates.
I don't have to talk to you.
Why his pulse is erratic.
I've told everything I know to the police.
Why he cries out in pain.
You can leave now, Doctor.
When we both know he is quite dead.
He just saw dollar signs or
Yep.
fame signs.
Fame and dollar, probably both.
You know,
probably both.
Which was interesting because I never got the impression from Herbert that was his motivation. He just wanted it to work.
He wanted to conquer death. That was his obsession.
And so I almost wish that they wouldn't have made it feel like he was upset because that guy was stealing his idea. Because
that's true. That's true. That kind of pushes his motivation in a weird direction. If his main motivation is just conquering death, then why would you care if somebody else perfected what you started? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he could have just gone along with him until he croaked, because he was clearly, probably a couple of months away from dying anyway. He was already a skeleton. I mean,
No, he doesn't want him stealing his ideas, and so he kills him
with a shovel.
With a shovel. That's one of the scenes that shocked me the first time I watched the film, because you've seen enough horror movies. You kind of know the tropes that they use and how they get around showing the really graphic stuff by making you imagine it in your head. So you see him get the shovel, you see him smack him across the head, and you see him stab downward, and you see blood splatter, and you think that's going to be it.
Oh, no. All I can think of is there's no way he can kill him without doing significant physical damage to him with the blade of the shovel to, kill him, and then he's going to be really disfigured. And I'm like, oh God, he's going to cut his head off. When I saw the head come off, I knew he was going to animate the head. I just knew it. I did not expect the body.
This is probably like the 10th or 11th time I've watched this movie. But every time we get to that part, all I can think of is Spiro Agnew and Richard Nixon from Futurama. Because Richard Nixon is just a head in a jar, and Spiro Agnew is just the body. He's like, "Brrr!"
Agnew, give it your stamp of approval.
The body was a surprise, and that really was a game changer. Okay, dude, now you're no longer doing research. You're just being a freak.
You're just doing stuff to do it. Weird. And also able to speak without actually having lungs attached to his throat.
How are you doing that without lungs?
That's always been my biggest thing. It's like, at this point, you just kind of let it all go, because none of it makes sense anymore.
He still wants homegirl.
But he's also figured out the secret to like a new method of using the serum, is that he can use the serum to reanimate a corpse, but he has to, if he lobotomizes the corpse, then he can control them. Okay, sure. Whatever, dude.
I mean, it works.
It works, but yeah, okay.
And how nice if all of the corpses that he had reanimated just quietly lay there.
Yeah, lay there very quietly and wait until the moment he revealed that they were actually reanimated corpses.
I have a plan.
So do I.
They didn't think anything was suspicious at all.
That all of them were
in the main room with him underneath tarps.
Oh, you're right.
That seems,
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it's like, why didn't you think that was, a little suspicious?
And also, the moment any of them started stirring.
Oh,
door. Bye.
Door. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, but we have to talk about something though. The moment before they come in and all the corpses stand up and start fighting them is the thing that almost goes too far.
Look, you nasty freak! Oh! Oh! Go! Oh! Oh! No!
That's one of the things that I love about this film is they pushed it as far as they could, and then they stopped right when they needed to, before it went too far.
It even gave you weird penises. I mean, not weird penises, just penises.
Oh yeah, there was plenty of. Well, they were mostly blocked by tables and stuff, but
there were some swinging weenies. I mean, there obviously horror movies in the '80s had to show breasts.
Yes,
I mean,
that was just as part of the unwritten rules.
Especially this one, because there wasn't a lot of cursing.
No, there wasn't.
So,
you're right.
Another thing that because I was telling him,
and there wasn't a lot of gratuitous sex. There was one sex scene in the film, and it was completely tasteful. Yeah, it was totally tasteful.
And so, because you think about it, a lot of horror movies, especially when the PG-13 came along, a lot of films were getting PG-13, and some films didn't want that.
No, they wanted an R rating because R rating would bring more people because it was a good horror movie. Of course, the movie closes in a very H.P. Lovecraft style. Yeah. That while trying to escape, Herbert West gets enwrapped in tentacle version of intestines, and he throws his serum, whatever's left of his serum and his research and everything, he throws it to the young good guy, Dan was his name.
Don't let my research go to waste.
Don't let my research go to waste. He takes it,
incinerator.
And then they get attacked. Twice, and he fends off one with an axe, but it's too late. Barbara Crampton's character gets strangled, and she dies.
I love
you. We know it worked. she
'Cause she
screams,
screams, but
we
that's
don't
it.
know. Like, and I realized after Patrick had described that, he always would end the second act and leave it hanging, and this director did the same thing. He went ahead and left it hanging.
He kept it very true to a Lovecraftian style ending.
Because part of you wants to go, maybe this time it works. Maybe this time, because of he's not trying to conquer death for fame or
no,
anything.
he just doesn't want her to die because he loves her.
He loves her.
Yeah.
He wants to save the girl he loves.
So maybe it'll work this time.
Or
yeah, that's
maybe he got strangled in the elevator too.
That's very Lovecraftian. The whole maybe it'll work this time. Yeah. That's a very Lovecraftian way of thinking about it. Jeffrey Combs.
Birth is always painful. Who's going to believe a talking head? Get a job in a sideshow.
I thought I was renting a private room, Dan.
It's not a super broad.
He has no empathy.
No, it's very.
I mean, you've killed someone's cat, and your main anger point is that they broke into your room.
Right.
If you're a med student, and even if you do have some radical theories or some ideas for new surgical techniques or anything like that, your ass is going to keep that stuff to yourself.
True.
You're going to graduate and you're going to finish your residency, and then you're either going to try to perfect this technique and introduce it to the world. You're certainly not going to tell your mentor about it so they can steal it.
That's true. That's true. You wouldn't do that. You're right.
So his obsession was stronger than his discretion. I mean,
that could be the movie's tagline.
At the end of the day, he is not trying to create murderous corpses. He's trying
to bring people back. We have to just discuss this morgue. What is happening in this town that there's so many horribly disfigured bodies sitting in the morgue? What is going on?
Well, maybe Miskatonic asks for all the worst ones.
Well, maybe so. It's true. I didn't think about that. They ship them in from all over.
Way before the 80s, most morgues had the drawer system. They didn't just roll people into a freezer.
That might have just been an easy way to make the film. They didn't have to actually have a morgue. They just needed a room.
A room where they could, you just assumed that it was air conditioned.
Yeah.
Because it was behind a freezer door.
Right.
It did feel small.
Yes.
I mean,
for especially for the establishing shots, because the establishing shots of the hospital made it look like it was a very large building.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you go down to the morgue, and the morgue is one little room with a single guard, and there's just one little room with 6 bodies in it on the side. It seems very, very small.
I think they had 2 or 3 tables.
The practical effects in this were very they were over the top, but they were also very charming in how, because there's nothing in here that you can watch wow, I wonder how they did that. Everything is very obvious how they did it.
I don't think they had any kind of visual effects per se.
No, this was all done practically. But even the practical effects, it's you look at it, it's okay.
The laser.
Oh, okay, the laser. The laser was probably done with a special effect, yes.
That's about it.
But the hand. The hand after he cut the arm off her.
Or even the doctor's head in the pan.
Yes, it was very simple. Head through a hole in the table and put a little flap of skin underneath and put a bunch of blood in the pan. And there you go. You got a talking head in a pan. It's all about the acting at that point.
And of course, Dr. Hill was 100% sentient. He couldn't always speak clearly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was smart enough to think that the entire world is still going to be okay with this decapitated head,
right?
Introducing the world to his,
and that's why he missed that line. It's who's gonna believe a talking head? Go get a job in a freak show.
But then the other argument would be, oh, well, if you can keep this guy alive,
exactly. That's pretty impressive. But then his shoulders, though. I mean, every time I see that, it was so funny when he's carrying around the head. They show the hands holding the head, and he's talking, but then the body behind him is so grossly out of proportion.
Not too much, but he is a skinny man, so
yes, he wouldn't have had those giant shoulders. But you understand why they did it, because there's a full actor inside of here, and he's in front of him with his head sticking out. Every practical effect you see it in the film, you're I know exactly how they did that, but you don't care because it's charming and clever.
No, they stayed within a probably a very good budget.
A very, very tight budget. Yeah,
and it was quality. The camera work felt quality. I mean, nothing like Spookies or several of the other ones where, oh gosh, I mean, some of the, you're still, how did you get this made?
Right.
And then some studio actually decided to print VHSs of this.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I mean, there were companies back in the 80s and that's their focus. Their focus was like these little, small, cheap, low-budget indie films.
Well, yeah.
And then like modern companies.
If you can make a film for like $20,000 and then earn $150,
that's still a profit. It's not much of a profit, but it's still a profit.
I mean,
yeah. And then thankfully there's companies nowadays like Vinegar Syndrome and stuff like that they actually find these old movies and they reprint them and make sure that they stay alive, because you know these sort of really, really bad movies, you know, that we watch in this show, they should be preserved. People should be able to watch these. They're fun. And this is like I said, this is
on how not to make it.
Right, exactly. Now this film is, like I said before we started, this is a film that I would have never chosen for the normal format of this show, because in my opinion it's too good. This is a good movie.
Though several of the films that I picked, I mean, the quality of them, like I mean,
yes,
like
well, it's like Rare Exports.
Rare
Exports was
high quality,
surprisingly good. It's a really good film. It was just very weird.
This one, it definitely leaned deeper into the compare it to say Flatliners.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Which that one, of course, was an all-star cast.
Yeah, it was an all-star cast. It was a big, high-budget blockbuster.
But that one was extra polished compared to this one.
This one was much raw, more
but it
blatant.
Was still decent acting. The only person who really you felt like had a major change was our young doctor, Ernest guy, who went from promising med
to insane person.
Well, not quite.
Well, he was on his way.
Yeah,
he was on his way. I think it's implied that he's going to pick up the torch and carry on where Herbert West left off. It's kind of what it's implying, which is also a common theme in H.P. Lovecraft's writing: the passing of the torch of insanity to the next generation.
Now the question is, do you think that Herbert might have injected himself with some stuff before the thing completely killed?
Well, you know what? There are 2 sequels to Re-Animator that I personally have never seen. I'm just going to have to look them up, and I'll tell you if that's the case. But did you like it?
Oh no, it was good. I mean, I was entertained. I mean, any kind of film that makes you react to it and yell at the screen and no, don't do that. I liked it. It was good. It was entertaining. It was, and knowing it was Lovecraft, if I didn't know it was Lovecraft beforehand, I don't know if I would have leaned into it as well. You know what I mean? But knowing who was writing it, then that also gives you a better idea of what to expect.
Yeah, you kind of have an idea.
It's not going to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Even if you want to give it a happy ending in your own mind, if you're like Pollyanna like me and think that maybe Homegirl isn't at 100%, but she can still cook a decent casserole. I don't know.
Well, no, I mean that you just proved exactly what I said at the beginning. It's like H.P. Lovecraft. He when he write stories, he never really wrote a third act in his stories. He always sort of ended it after the giant reveal and left the reader to interpret what actually happened afterwards. And that sort of tricks you into thinking bad things. And you shock yourself at the dark places that your mind can go. And even when you make it a happy ending, you're still falling into the H.P. Lovecraft trap, because
you're making an ending.
But well, no, not even that. But just part of H.P. Lovecraft's themology is maybe this time it'll work. Well, that was Re-Animator. I'm glad you liked it, and it was fun to watch it again with my bestie, because it is one of my favorite horror films, and I'm very glad because you really needed to see that.
Yeah.
it's one of those films you just got to see.
Well, it also gives me another mirror or window into Lovecraft, because when you think of Lovecraft, you immediately think of the eldritch beings,
the tentacles and Cthulhu and stuff, and
so,
but no, he wrote
madness.
He wrote. This is about madness. It's about obsession. He wrote a lot about obsession and madness, and this is one of those examples. But we're going to get out of here now. Thank you guys for coming by and watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. Go check out the film for yourself. Drop us comments down below what you thought of it. And we'll see you soon.